And we're here on the, perched precariously on the side of Glastonbury Tor in the Fairy Woods, to bring you the rune Sowilo. Now we're actually starting to think that maybe we're not meant to be bringing you this video because
the sun is coming out.
Maybe we are.
Yeah.
We're just Sowilo.
It's like a spotlight right on us.
It is, isn't it? How amazing. Maybe that's the gods telling us we are meant to be doing this video.
Yeah, you can't see it, but all in the distance there are rain clouds and there is a big sunbeam coming through.
So maybe we are meant to. We've had all sorts of failed attempts. This is our second time we've been out here to record it. I've now got a filthy cold, and we set up there, we just started recording it and the camera blew off the side of the Tor and came crashing down. But so let's hope this time it's going to work.
Yeah, this is take 3, by the way.
This is. So Sowilo is the rune of the sun, as you probably gathered. That's its Shamanic name. In Anglo-Saxon it's Sigil, and in Old Norse it's Sol. Now this is the 16th rune of the Elder Futhark, the 15th rune of the Futhark, and it actually also appears in the Younger, where it's the 11th rune. This rune came into the peak of its power on the 12th of February, and actually today is the last day of its power, so we've just kind of snuck in here before it disappears, and it peaked on the 19th of February. So, you know, the wheel is turned. We're now in the we're in the northeastern sector of the wheel, moving towards the eastern point where Bacana will be in its power, moving towards the vernal equinox. Spring is here now. It's not like here fully, but there's so much life. There's green shoots coming through the earth. There's the early spring flowers. I've seen blossom in the hedgerows.
There's a few daffodils out as well.
Yeah. The crops planted in the autumn are growing. The fields have been ploughed, ready for the spring crops. So, spring is definitely not fully here, but we are seeing winter moving aside now and spring coming in. So the rune of the sun, unlike many other religions, in the northern tradition the sun is considered to be a female deity known as Sunna or Sol, and the Snorri tells us in the Prose Edda that a man named Mundilfari had 2 very beautiful and fair children, a boy called Mani and a girl that he called Sunna, and the gods were angered by this arrogance, and so he took Sunna and Mani and put them up in the heavens, where they were given the task of being the charioteers for the moon and the sun. So Sunna is said to drive a chariot pulled by 2 horses called Avark, which is early riser, and Alsvin, which is all strong. And she's said to be pursued across the sky by a wolf named Skoll, which is why she never stops or rests on her journey. And it's said that the gods created the sun from the fiery sparks of Muspelheim. So I'm going to keep blowing my nose because, as I said, I've got a rotten cold. So the idea of the sun deity being a goddess is actually a very old concept, and it's actually my belief that originally solar deities were female, but over time they became gods as society became more patriarchal. And in Shinto, their main deity is a solar goddess, and the earliest deities in Egypt were goddesses. And although Sunna doesn't appear very much in the Eddas, the sun, what could be more important than the sun? Without it, we're not around. So if you look back, the sun cult was extremely important to our early ancestors, and there are numerous sun wheel depictions in carvings from the Bronze Age, and numerous depictions of the sun chariot being pulled across land and sea. So in the northern tradition, where we don't actually get a lot of sun up here in the northern hemisphere, the sun would have been seen differently to places where it could cause drought and famine. So the sun is seen as a nurturing, life-bringing force that brings forth fertility and brings life to the land. And if we look at the shape of the rune, I did actually draw it on my hand today. Don't know if you can see it. I'm not going to run down the slope because I'll just slip through the mud. It also looks like a lightning strike. Now, I've been thinking about this because this rune is considered to be one of the most positive of the runes, but we've had so much adversity trying to bring this video to you that I'm sure there must be more negative aspects to it, and of course without sun there is no shadow. So there is a shadow aspect to all runes, even those which seem the most negative, the most positive. They all have a shadow side to them, and in its aspect of lightning strike, although it would be like a divine source of fire from the heavens, a pure source of fire, extremely important to our early ancestors, it can also kind of sweep in suddenly like lightning does. And this rune is considered to be a Sig rune, which is a victory rune, and the word Sig often appears in a lot of the Eddas in relation to names like Sigmund, Siegfried, Sigurd, and in the Sigdrifumal, which is the lay of Sigdrifa, who is a Valkyrie whose name means victory bringer. We are told of a story where the hero Sigurd seeks out a golden maiden who's protected by a shield wall, and again the shape of the shield can be connected with this rune, who is a Valkyrie, and when he finds her, she's in an enchanted sleep, and he notices that her armour has grown into her body, so he cuts the armour away, and that's when she wakes up. And the invocation which she says upon waking is considered to be a very ancient invocation. So I'm just going to read it to you now. Once I've blown my nose, I do apologise. Nothing I can do about this cold. And it says, "Hail to the day, hail to the sons of day, hail to night and her kin. With gracious eyes may you look upon us too, and give victory to those sitting here. Hail to the Aesir, hail to the goddesses, hail to the mighty fecund earth. May you give eloquence and native wit to this glorious pair, and healing hands while we live." So here, within this very ancient invocation, we hear references to victory and also to healing. And Sowilo is a healing rune. It can be used to help the body to heal itself, and we only have to think about the nature of the sun. And I was feeling really horrible the other day, and I went out into the garden and the sun came out, and just that feeling, that warmth of the sun on your skin, the sun can be healing. Of course our bodies need the sun, and people suffer from SAD, the seasonal affective disorder, when they don't get enough sun. So this rune can bring joy and optimism. It can give you motivation and help with your inner drive, and it can of course bring vitality and rejuvenation. Now if we look at the Anglo-Saxon word for soul, which is cognate with Sowilo, it's Sewol. So here we see a connection with the soul, and all the runes flow into each other. So if we look at Algies, which came before, which was about connecting with the higher consciousness, with this rune we see the higher consciousness connecting with the consciousness. So through this rune we can help to evolve our spirits along a specific path. So I just want to read you now the Anglo-Saxon rune poem, which I have here. "The sun is ever a joy in the hopes of seafarers, when they journey over the fisher's bath, until the courser of the deep bears them to land." So here we see it in its guiding aspect. The sun can guide you, it can help you to find the path that your soul needs to be on. It can bring enlightenment and illumination, and it can bring clarification on matters to you. And of course we know that the Vikings were great seafarers, and what I have in my pocket is an piece of Icelandic spar, which is here, and we know now it used to be thought a myth, but one was found a few years ago, but the Vikings would have used these to locate the position of the sun, and hence help them to find, to map their course across the seas. So it can be used to pinpoint where the sun is, even on very cloudy days like it is today. So, although I've spoken a lot about the female aspect of this rune, this is actually has a male association, and it's an air rune, but it's associated with the god Galdr. Now we know that Galdr was obviously taken into Helheim, and this again is about the course of the sun, you know, connected to the sun cult, where obviously our ancestors charted and mapped the movements of the sun, and his descent into the underrealms is all about the movement of the sun. And again, as I said, you know, there's two sides to everything. Although Sunna was obviously seen as moving across the sky, it was thought that at night time she descended into the underworld. So again, this could give rise to the description that Snorri gave about the goddess Hela. So yeah, really, that's the rune Sowilo, and I'm hoping now that Carolina will illuminate us as to what's going on astrologically at the moment.
Yes, well, we just happened to meet on one of the most powerful...
Okay. I said we were perched precariously, didn't I?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, we just happened to meet on one of the most powerful days of the month, because we have a solar eclipse today. So it ties in really nicely with the rune Sowilo's solar eclipse, and the eclipse is in Pisces, which is a female sign. It's a water sign, and there is an interesting thing that I read about the journey of the sun as well, across the ecliptic. And from the Nordic point of view, eclipses happens when the wolf skull managed to reach the sun, or the goddess Sunna.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's when eclipses happen.
Cool. So Skull's Quarter today then?
Yes, that's right. Skull Quarter today. So that's why we have an eclipse, which is, you know, I found that was a really fascinating piece of information. You know, some insights and illuminations into the Norse tradition. But back to the solar eclipse today. So we have the sun and the moon conjunct in Pisces at 8 degrees. So it's a new moon, but it also happens to be a solar eclipse. And so both the sun and the moon are conjunct at the same degree of the zodiac. And this means that the energy is concentrated and it's really focused.
Okay.
So this eclipse is more likely to affect you if you have planets, angles or points between 5 degrees and 11 degrees of Pisces, of the mutable signs, which are Pisces, Virgo, Gemini and Sagittarius. So if you have any planets between that range of degrees, then you're more likely to feel this solar eclipse in a way that it's more powerful or more significant than the rest of us. Although of course, it will affect all of us. So the new moon is the beginning of a new cycle, and with both the sun and the moon conjunct the south node, there is a sense of letting go, a sense of surrender, a sense of release. So old familiar patterns come up for revision or come up for questioning. So, and with Neptune in Pisces, then it just helps to dissolve anything that's been stuck or anything that has been blocked. So you're bound to feel a little bit fragile today, I would say, a little bit emotional. So because there's all this release and all this letting go happening. But the aim is to move onwards towards the promises and the experiences of the North Node, because if you remember, we've got signs that are polar opposites. So we've got the sun and the moon in Pisces conjunct the south node, and on the opposite side is Virgo and the north node. So we're moving into the north node. We're trying to face those challenges of the north node, which are also, they feel quite overwhelming. and not particularly inviting, because we want to stay with what's familiar,
Yeah, of course.
with what we know.
It's comfortable, isn't it?
With what's comfortable, absolutely. So this, the Pisces Virgo axis is about work and service, and how we can materialize those dreams in reality. What happens is sometimes with Pisces, Pisces is the dreamer, the idealist, the collective, and sometimes we don't know how to anchor all those dreams and creativity into reality, which is of course what Virgo provides us with. The kind of the focus and the mental clarity, and also the tending to the everyday details. So how do we bring heaven to earth? Okay, so also we have that the Sun and the Moon are conjunct Neptune, which is the modern ruler of Pisces, along with Jupiter, who is the traditional ruler of Pisces. But the Sun conjunct Neptune, it talks to us about it develops the capacity for self-awareness and for creativity, and reinventing yourself in a way that it's creative. And when the Moon is conjunct Neptune, then we have an increased capacity for intuition, empathy, and sensitivity. Okay, so this forms the basis of the solar journey. So as I said before, moving from the familiarity of the South Node into the promises and the experiences of the North Node. So the challenges of this eclipse today, because not all is good, and I guess this is the shadow side, is that Jupiter, the ancient ruler of Pisces, is opposite Mars and Uranus, which are in Aries. So there's an increased sense of freedom that wants to make you react, wants to make you take action. So Mars and Uranus conjunct in Aries, they're an explosive combination. So today also be aware that you might feel a little bit more irritable, and not only yourself but people around you. So there is that sense of that attention that builds up and it seeks release. But try to act rather than react, because that's what the opposition is all about. It's trying to find a happy medium, balancing both aspects of the sheep are here. And we'll tell you why we say the sheep are here.
It sounds a bit obscure, but it does make sense.
It will make sense.
It will.
And if I refer back to the Anglo-Saxon rune poem, it speaks about the journey of the sun through the fish's bath, and I thought that was a really nice link with Pisces as well. As you know, Pisces is a water sign, and it's also called the sign of the fishes. So at the moment we've got the sun sailing across the fish's bath, which is Pisces. And one last thing that I would like to encourage you to do today, as it is a very powerful, potent day, maybe try to, at the time of the eclipse, which is at 2:58 p.m. in the UK. Not too sure what time it is in the rest of the world at the moment, but it's
I think it's 5 hours earlier in EST.
Right, yeah, it's 9:58 in EST or Eastern time, and at 6:58 a.m. in Pacific time. Right. So I invite you to sit with the energy of Sowilo and try to find some illumination as to where you're going at the moment, so what that north node is prompting you to do, and also find where Pisces is in your chart, because that's where the eclipse will be more potent, that's where changes are bound to happen. So if you locate the house in your chart occupied by Pisces, then that's the one that is seeking release and change and transformation. And that's all from me.
Cool. And we are now officially surrounded
by sheep.
And the reason we spoke about that, last time we did this, we were drumming, doing the Galdr. And we finished, we opened our eyes and we were literally surrounded by sheep. So we've got a theory that sheep like Galdr, or particularly Sowilo. I don't know why, I know it's really obscure, but I've just got a feeling that there's a link between sheep and Sowilo.
Yeah, it would be interesting to research it and see if there is anything at all. But I'm sure that...
But here they come. I just hope they don't
yeah,
find the camera.
And they're coming very close this time. They were just observing last time, whereas
they're very
now
curious about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Hello. Right,
time to
get the
do
drum.
some Galdr.
Yeah, I'll try not to go shooting off down the slope again. Oh, scared the sheep.
Okay, so now it has gone quite dark again here. We did have a little bit of sun shining through, but it has gone quite dark again.
It has. Let's hope we can get this done before we get rained on.
Yeah, usually we manage to dodge the rain.
We do. I can't get on it, Carolina. Can you hold the drum? Oh, that's better. When I said we're perched precariously, I wasn't joking.
Yeah, we're not joking. We are
really
perched
precariously. Oh dear. Right then. Let's chant Sowilo. Let's and one thing I forgot to say is I do feel Sowilo is connected to the serpent mysteries, which the dragon lines, the serpent lines of a name, and ley lines. Glastonbury Tor is just like an absolute crisscross of these serpent paths. So let's send some healing energy off across the dragon lines and out into the world. We haven't had a plane today, but we've got a police car now. Right, okay.
Oh, you can see the sheep behind us.
Sheep behind us, sheep in front of us, sheep all around us.
They joined in with the chanting as well.
We did? Oh dear. So, whenever I chant Sowilo, it always comes as a bit of a shock when I open my eyes and I realise it's all kind of grey and cold, because it does kind of fills you with brightness, I find.
And warmth as
and
well.
Warmth, I definitely felt, I've been feeling quite cold, and definitely felt a lot warmer when I do that. And the other thing which we've noticed before is that how it activates your chakra system. Now obviously that's from a different tradition. In the northern tradition they're known as Havils or Havel in Old Norse, but it's all the same concept of these power centres within the earth, and I always find it particularly activates, funnily enough, my solar plexus chakra. But so it's a good one to use for working with your chakras.
Yeah, with cleaning your chakras, and it's healing, isn't it?
Healing, rejuvenating them,
energising them.
Which is what I need today, because I feel rough as a badger's backside. So hopefully that's done me some good. But anyway, I think that's all we've got to say for you today about Sowilo and the solar eclipse and the new moon and everything that's going on. Powerful day by the sounds of it.
Powerful day, yes. Take care of yourselves, and maybe it's the ideal day to do some chanting, to do some clearing and releasing, and energise yourself. Spring is almost here in the northern hemisphere, so we're really looking forward to it.
We are. Just that time of year where everybody's just really had enough of the winter, isn't it? Around this kind of end of February, everybody kind of thinks, hurry up spring, I've kind of had enough of this now. But so thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back in not too long a time really to bring you the rune tiwas, and we will hopefully see you then. So please subscribe, and thanks to everybody that's already subscribed, and we will see you next time.
See you next time, and thank you for all your lovely feedback as well.
Yes.
It's really appreciated.
Okay,
have a lovely day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.